Hey everyone, it's Scott again from Oak Ridge. We are finishing our 4 weeks in the book of Proverbs talking about different types of people that we encounter. Today we're going to talk about the person who is wise. And the good thing is that every individual watching this video can fit into, and probably does fit into, this category. I have a book here I want to just share with you that it's a commentary on some of the Proverbs entitled Wisdom from Above for Living Here Below. And really that's what Proverbs is about, and that's what wisdom is about. We've said it before that wisdom is the practical application of God's word to everyday life. The word wisdom itself is used over 50 times in the book of Proverbs, and the word wise over 60 times. And the Hebrew word for wisdom refers to knowledge, but also it's coupled with that inner quality of our life that is conformed to the character of God. In other words, it is living out the Christian life. That's what it is. It's knowing what God says and then lining up our life with His teachings. If you study Proverbs, you can't help but get wiser because it is full of so many practical things. In fact, the very beginning of the book talks about wisdom. The writer Solomon says, to know wisdom and instruction, to understand words of insight, and he goes on to say these are all important. So wisdom is at the top of the list in Proverbs. It says the fear of the Lord, that is the awe of God, that worship of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge or wisdom. You see, you and I have to have God in His proper place in our life to be a wise person. In other words, I have to respect God. I need to see Him in all His majesty and all of His nature and character as a gracious, merciful, all-powerful God. Having wisdom begins with putting God in His proper place and then seeing what He expects of me. So let me share with you what a wise person looks like according to Proverbs, and then a few thoughts on how do we become wise. Well, a wise person wants to learn instruction. That's what Proverbs tells us. They want God's word to change their life. It says in Proverbs 1:5, the wise hear and increase in learning, and the one who understands obtain guidance. This type of individual who wants to be wise, they want to learn. They want to know what does God's word say about life and about things in general. And so that's what a wise person does. They have a hunger and desire to know what God says in His word. The second thing about a wise person is they're open to correction. Remember, we talked about one of the characteristics of one of the people that we talked about, the mocker or the scoffer. They're not really willing to listen to other people. But a wise person is open to correction. In fact, in verse 8 of Proverbs 9, it says, if you reprove a wise man, he will love you. If you rebuke them, in other words, a wise person is willing to be corrected. They want to learn. And if they don't understand something, they're willing to be told all of the facts about a situation, or they want to learn. They want to know what's right. And so they're open to that. They're open to correction. A wise person wants to learn. They're open to correction. And here's a third thing about a wise person. They seek advice. We've all run into that person who thinks that they know just about everything. Well, about everything. But the wise person realizes there's a lot of things they don't know. Proverbs 13:10 says, by insolence comes nothing but strife, but with those who take advice is wisdom. When it comes to decision making, when it just simply comes to seeking understanding, a wise person actually is willing to ask questions and to talk to somebody who might know something about a particular topic that they don't know about. A wise person seeks advice. A fourth thing about a wise person is they actually watch who they spend time with. Now, you can't always have anything to, you can't correct who you necessarily work with and all of that. You spend time with people simply because you go to school with them, you work with them, maybe they're in your family, they're in your church. But a wise person knows the influence that people can have on them. And it's not that they don't spend time with people who need Christ. It's not that they don't spend time with people who maybe are still learning about the Christian life, but they do spend time for sure with those who can help them grow in wisdom as part of that circle of people. And wisdom is discerning about time spent with others. We have to spend time with people who know Christ and Christians who are at various stages of spiritual growth. But the wise person is careful who they allow to influence their life. So the wise person wants to learn more. They're willing to be corrected. They are willing to seek advice. They're careful who they spend time with and who they allow to influence them. And lastly, they guard their speech. Proverbs 29:11 tells us a fool vents, but a wise person quietly holds it back. In other words, they watch what they say. Because as you know, the words that come out of our mouths can never be taken back. And some people just like to stir the pot by the things they say. That's not necessarily always the wisest thing to do. The person who says, well, you know me, I just speak my mind, that doesn't mean they're being wise. Wisdom knows when to say something and what to say. So how does a person become wise? Well, without going into it in great detail, let me just share this. It begins with the proper view of God. We already have noted that. You have to have a high view of God, His character, who He is, and what He expects of us. So it begins there. The second thing about wisdom is hang around people who are wise. See how people apply God's word to their life, in just life situations. And it doesn't always have to be a difficult situation. Maybe it's how they handle their finances. Maybe it's how they raise their kids. So a wise person grows in wisdom by being influenced by wise, godly people. And a third way to become more wise is as we learn things, we use it at the right time. You become more wise as you take God's word and apply it in certain situations, but you apply it at the right time and in the right circumstance. And that only comes through practice. That's Hebrews 5:12 through 14. And so you don't become wise overnight, and none of us have arrived. But every person watching this video should have the desire or the goal to become a person of wisdom. Proverbs says that's the key to life, becoming a person who is wise. Hey, this is Scott. Thanks for joining in this 4-week study through characters found in Proverbs. And we'll see you next week. Take care.